talk about what we're doing today, okay? I mean, the first thing is this is Bite Me Bambi. This is Dan, drums.
Hello.
Brian, Talina, Mike. Talina's a vocalist. Mike is keyboards, organs, everything else. First, we're gonna do two songs, right? What are the songs?
A reggae song called Let Me Love You, and Talina?
A Christmas song that doesn't have a name yet.
Okay.
Probably going to be called Mall Santa if I can't come up with anything better.
So Dan, what do we have here? What's our drum kit, just so we know?
All right, this is a 1965 Ludwig Hollywood.
Okay.
Very classic set of drums. Simple 13 rack tom, 16 floor, 22-inch kick, and it's got a Noble and Cooley maple 14x7 snare.
Awesome. All right, let's do a quick recap on the drums. I briefly talked about it, but maybe I can just go into a little bit more detail. My logic is you start with a kick drum. So if you look at the kick, you notice I have two microphones. I've got my Sony C500, which is one of my favorite microphones in all the world. It's like a FET 47, it's killer. And I've got my ATM 25 on the inside. So I'm blending these at the console because when you just listen to that, it's too bright. When you just listen to that, it's too dark. But the two together make a big full sound. Love it. We've got this old Ludwig kit, which you already discussed, which is super awesome. The snare drum has just a 57 on the top, and it has an AKG mic. The model, I don't even know what it is on the bottom, but it sounds great, so I just go for it. And I have a little shell around the snare drum to try to get out all these cymbals from my snare. You notice that the drummers have hit it 1,000 times, but that's all right, because it actually protects this. But and one thing I've learned too is if you put this too far over here, it totally changes the sound of this microphone. So I'm always I'm leery about this thing and how close it gets. So you gotta be careful when you use that thing. Does it help a lot? Maybe it's 5%, but that 5% matters. The toms are my ATM 25s. If you've seen anything I've done, you notice that I use those a lot. The closer you get to the head, the more bottom end you get. So the further you pull back, you're gonna get less bottom, bottom, bottom. You get a great tone here, but the problem is too, when you go this far away, you get all these cymbals that are sitting all around here. So to me, I like having the weight of the bottom end, and if I have too much bottom, I'll just roll a little bit off on the mic pre and the EQ. So to me, I'm a close microphone person. Other people, they like it far away. It's just a personal preference. You gotta decide what you like. We put a little bit of this, he's got this weird leather sort of thing that's pretty awesome. So for us to not have to put tape and a bunch of like moon gels on here, this is basically our moon gels. And you see he's got them on all three of these drums when you do a close-up. Another thing I forgot about the kick drum, I have this other mic here. This is called the McHugh Military. It's an old tube microphone. It's an omnidirectional microphone that kind of just captures this whole world. So it's getting the beater, but it also gets this thing too. So it's similar to my bottom snare mic. And when I blend it in there, I'll show you later, it gets that character. But what it also does, it gets the floor tom too. So you get a little bit of like thickness from the floor. So it's getting all those elements. When you solo this up, it's not like a focused sound. It's kind of a weirder tone. But when you often blend it with these other microphones, it's really cool and really interesting. Just a simple 451 AKG on the hi-hat. And then I have this blue, which I believe is the Bluebird on the ride. They both sound good. Overheads are our 414s. I've said this before, but I like to put them a little bit past the cymbals so I don't get the swash of these cymbals. Directly behind Eric here, there's a set of stereo rooms that I use. Up above in this weird wave thing up there, I have a mono microphone, which is actually a SM58. It's not fancy or anything, but it just has like a trashier sort of tone, so it sounds really cool. It replicates, if there was a vocalist sitting in the room, that's what the vocalist mic would sound like when they're not singing. And you often get a really cool compression sort of sound. I kind of break the headphones down for him. Like I don't want him messing with too many things like a little mixing board. So I basically feed all the drums into one output, the bass, and then the guitars, keys, and vocals all come out of another one. So he really only has to deal with 3 different knobs. Well, the fourth would be the click. It's a very simple sort of thing. It's labeled. I discuss it with the person right before. Even if I've worked with them before, I said, hey, do you remember how to use the box? And a guy like Dan totally knew how to use it. One thing that I love about what Dan did is he brought his own headphones. So they're in-ear headphones that help from the bleed to come out to all the microphones. So if you have headphones like this, you crank the click here, even though it's on your ears, you tend to hear it in the snare drum, you tend to hear it in the overheads. But with these in-ears, you very rarely ever hear the click drum in the drum tracks, which is super important. I think that's about it for the drums. basically what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna have him just play a little bit, and I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna adjust levels and get tones, and if I hear a ring in something or whatever, we're gonna communicate back and forth and talk about it. I can already see there's like a ripple on that floor. Does that mean it's gonna be a little? It's gonna be
maybe we'll take a look.
So yeah,
got a key.
he's a great drummer, so he knows what he's doing, but I'm here to check him and make sure he's behaving. So why don't I go in there, just play a beat, play one of the beats, and you know where the headphones are?
Yeah.
Behind you.
Do you mind if I plug in?
I prefer you if you do.
Awesome.
Yeah. Hey, this is Cameron Webb. I'm here with Pro Mix Academy. I've worked on records, produced and engineered and mixed for Social Distortion, Motorhead, Pennywise, the Aquabats, Yo Gabba Gabba, and tons more. What I have today is we have a course. We have a course where I'm going to take a band from scratch and build 2 songs from the very beginning all the way to the end to the mix. So we're going to start with tracking drums, talking about the song, talking about arrangements. We're going to build guitars, bass. We're also going to do horns, vocals. We'll discuss vocal tuning. We'll do a bunch of dub tricks with spring reverbs and delays. So this course is going to be kind of jam-packed with a lot of stuff. We're going to start and we're going to have 5 days to do this. I'm going to have 3 days of tracking, a day to edit, and then a day to mix. It's going to be a great course. I hope you guys want to enjoy it. Check it out at Pro Mix Academy. I'm Cameron Webb. Thanks a lot. Can you hear me, Dan?
Yeah.
So I'm going to build it up from the kick drum, snare drum, toms, one at a time, and kind of adjust and EQ. I'm going to start with the ATM25 inside, which I bust with the Sony microphone. So this is just the ATM25. It's a little bit bright, so basically what I'm doing is I'm gonna, my inside kick drum is gonna get the brighter tone, but I don't want it to sound like a heavy metal kick drum, so I'm backing off some high end. I'm not actually backing it off. I already had high end on there that I didn't want. So I'm leveling it off so there's no extra high end. I'm also using this old vintage EQ called the Quad 8. It's kind of like a Neve, basically. I'm gonna check the Sony mic. Super thuddy, super dark, but that's why I combine the two, and then it'll get nice and punchy and full. I gotta be careful with my level. It's hitting too hot so I can feel there's a little distortion, so I'm backing it off a little bit. Something is crackling. Assume it's this. So my Quad 8's old and it's vintage, so it crackles sometimes. You got to mess with the pots. Switch to the bigger speakers to feel the bottom end. Kick feels pretty good right now. Now the keys, I try to work fast because I don't want him to get tired out before he actually has to perform. So I try to be efficient. Snare drum, check the EQ. Put the kick and snare together for a second. Snare level's a little lower, so I make it a little louder. Check the overheads. A little dark. Let's add just a little bit of high end. We're going to take out some ugly low mids. First I'm going to turn them up loud. That got some of the ugliness out. Hey Dan, give me something with a tom fill in it.
Yeah. So
Rack and tom. Rack and floor. They feel pretty good. I don't really need to EQ them. Just play like a normal beat where you do a tom fill in it. Room mics. I listen to rooms for a second. They feel balanced. I already kind of balanced them earlier. This is, I'm going to test this mic called the Heart mic, which is the mic that is kind of on the beater side of the kick drum. It's not it's not that it's unimportant, but it's not like, it's an extra bonus mic. So I don't overly focus on dialing in too crazy. That feels good. Let's take some low end out of the hi-hat. Give me some ride, please. I'm gonna take some low end out of the ride too. Not necessary. So this is like just the dry drums, no rooms, but how's it feel? Feels solid? Okay. So if we want to open it up, we can always turn the rooms up. He's gonna play like a verse and a chorus, and we'll just bring him in to listen to his drums to make sure he likes everything. If I don't like something, I'm gonna say something as well, but if he thinks the snare is too high or I think it's too high, we're gonna discuss that kind of stuff. I think the important thing to realize is that it's not my band, it's their band. So my goal is to try to make them happy with everything that we do. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just adjusting my levels to make everything as hot as I possibly can. All right, Dan. Sounds good. Come on in for a second.
Cool.
I listen to the NS10 speakers because they have like, they're really good to EQ do. But then when you jump to the Genelecs, which are like fancier speakers, they make everything sound great. So the key is starting on the NS10s. I hate to say this, but if you want to present to the band and you want to present it larger than life, you jump to the Genelecs because they sound fancier. But I'm not going to try to lie to anybody here. So these guys have been here a couple times. So they know the trick. They know the trick. But I'll play the NS10s first so they can hear it. Where are you, Dan? Get over here. Jump to the Genelecs. Gets more boom in the kick, obviously, so it's more fun. It's like when you're in your lowrider, you're driving around, you want the Genelecs. I like the snare, I think the kick's great. I'm stoked.
Sounds
Feel
good
right
to
to you?
me. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds sick. I like the cymbals because they're there, but they don't take up a lot of space, and they kind of just get out of the way fast.
Ride's good? Happy?
I'm very happy. That sounds awesome.
All right. I think the important thing is you bring the band in, you let them listen to what we're about to record, because if they don't like something now, they need to speak up, because if they don't, then we're screwed later. Our bass player just showed up, Ryan. So I think we'll test the bass real quick, then we'll continue testing everything, and then we'll roll. So Dan, you have like 10 minutes or so.
All right.
We're gonna do kind of a recap on the drums, because while we're tracking, I don't want to stall the whole recording process by over explaining things and getting the band to get tired. Because one thing is you don't want to take a drummer like that and have them just play uselessly for hours and hours. Like, you want to get the focused performances. Our process was, I was just going through each microphone that I put on the drum kit, and I was either adding EQ or taking EQ off. So an example here is when I'm doing the kick drum, I started out with it too bright, so I backed it down. When it came to the snare drum, I had to brighten it up a little bit. When it came to the overheads, I really quickly did a sweep, and I cranked the low mids, and then I sweeped the frequencies to find the nastiest of those frequencies. So basically the ugliest part of that room. Once I found that, then I just roll back the gain a little bit. So I just, not much, like a couple dB, like 1 or 2 dB, I back that off. When it came to like the hi-hat, for a situation like this, I don't need a bunch of low end rumbling. I don't need to hear kick drum in there. So I just take off a little bit of lows. And when I say lows, I'm gonna say 120 or 60 or anything around that range that's just kind of mud. Rooms. I love to compress my rooms. If we go over here, I put this compressor right here, which is the 21176. So this was across the rooms. While we were working, you didn't really see me come over here because what I was doing is I was adjusting how hard I hit this with the gain on the channel over there. Because I had all these things set up before the band showed up, I kind of had them dialed so I didn't have to do a lot, so it made it pretty simple. I also used a mono room, and I used this super old compressor. It's a CBS Audio Max is what it's called. This is a compressor where I often just I set it at a level, and then I control it with the gain over there. So the more gain I put there, the more compresses. Because where the output stage is this, it's always at a good level. So I don't have to, like a lot of people go to compressors and they're messing with the ins and outs. Because it's a studio I work at a lot, I know where the best output is. So I basically adjust it for that reason. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Mall Santa, I saw you standing there, adjusting your sack of presents as you sat in your chair. You look so cute, head to toe in your nice red suit, with your dangly cap and your big black boots. Don't put me on the nice list, 'cause I wanna be naughty with you. Mall Santa, I think you're really hot. Mall Santa, wanna tell you what I want. Why can't you see it's destiny? Why did you call security on me? Mall Santa, this mall's dead anyway.
That felt great, Dan. How'd it feel to you?
That felt great. Felt really good.
So worth coming in to listen?
That's worth coming.
Let's do it. Come on in. It was a great take. The important thing to remember about a drummer like Dan, he's really good and he goes in with a plan and he knows all his fills. So like often most drummers have to do 5 takes of that, but he's so good that his pockets are good. Everything's really planned out. So we appreciate having a guy like Dan around. I feel like this fill going to the second verse can be a little bit more over the top. Let me play with the track.
Montana, it smells dead anywhere.
Because there's all this free space.
Montana,
I think it needs to be a little over the top, right? That's very safe, like normal. Give us a little, I'm a drummer. Come on. What do you say? That make sense?
Just like that. I really like what he did there, but why don't we have this?
Yeah.
So why don't you
I
do
can
some of that
Fill
else?
the space.
It could be longer.
Yeah, that I could do
I
a
was
little,
thinking
just
that
a little
could
bit
start
more, but I like how it ends with still doing the toms and
It should end with the toms like that. But just give me something before at the beginning. I want a little more fire. You guys don't need to play along. He can just play it on his own. This is their band. It's their music. So I can make suggestions, but if they don't like something, it doesn't work, then we throw it out. So, but the key is I'm here to try to drive them a little further and see if we can take it to the next step. That's what I'm trying to do. Are you ready?
Montana, it smells dead anywhere. Montana,
You can do better. You can do better.
Is that where you want him to come in?
I want you to come in a little bit earlier. Zlata, boom, ba, balata, boom, do, doom. So I want a little bit longer.
Montana, it smells dead anywhere. Montana.
That's a bit too long. I want a little more big bandy feel. I want to hear a little snare roll in it or something. Zlatum. Instead of starting on the tom, can you start on the snare? Zlabam. Yeah, I like that idea better.
Montana, it smells dead anywhere. Montana, I see you at the Nordstrom Cafe.
Perfect, yeah, I'm cool with that.
Good game.
Coming in for a second, Dan.
Montana,
Right
I
there.
see you at the Nordstrom Cafe.
The come and get back in.
so when I come back in,
Yep.
originally I had kick like I was coming in
Right.
kick immediately. Right there.
Okay, so let's go back. Let me do this.
Yeah,
I think I
go
can
back,
just
it should
go.
be perfect.
Yeah, I could probably start the edit on that hit and it'll be fine.
Perfect.
Yep,
That's it. Yeah, that's
good. Is it the perfect fill in my brain? Perfect or not, it's like, to him it is, so that means it's a perfect fill, you know what I mean? It's like, there's a million things you can do, but you gotta let people have their style and the thing that they do, and I love what you did, so good work, good work.